Hello, family, loved ones, and friends. Today's life lessons regarding truth and life is going to be about giving and why. Why do we give? Giving is a biblical principle that God has given us. Everything that we have is His anyway. And what we want to be able to do is have our 90% blessed by Him. And so there's a tithe biblical principle that we are governed by, that we operate underneath God's principles and standard. Now, I have old school, Old Testament scriptures that we can pull from, of course, that talks about giving 10%. 10% is from the Old Testament, but I want to pull from the New Testament. In 2 Corinthians chapter 8, verse 3, Paul planted many churches in the city of Corinth, and he said and suggested that we should be able to give above and beyond what the 10% is. Paul encourages us to basically give not only the 10%, but he testifies as much as they were able and willing to give beyond their ability. Now, that's a great principle, great life lessons. I'm a big giver, huge giver. I give according to what I have, what I've earned, and I love to be able to give to others more than just keeping certain things for myself. God has always blessed me and have brought me from small beginnings to great accomplishments, and I thank God for that. But, no, I shouldn't say but. And He has blessed me because He knows He can trust me with the giving. As much as He has given me, as the Bible said, to whom much is given, much is required. And I believe there's a certain standard of requirement that God has put on me that I freely give from my heart. Now, another note and nugget that I would say is when you're giving, be mindful of your giving. Are you giving to be seen? Or are you giving to be honored by God? So we have to check our motives, right? Matthew chapter 6, verse 1, beware of practicing your righteousness before men to be noticed by them. So I try to be mindful. Now, certain times you're going to give and people are going to see it. That's a part of growth and allowing others to see that they too can give, because they're going to watch you and see how your life is impacted by your giving. Now, when we give, we must be careful to examine our own motives. We are to give to the glory of God and to the good of His people. Kingdom building, right? We must desire God's approval when we give rather than the admirations of people, okay? Also in Colossians 3:23, our ultimate goal is to please Him. We must give as unto the Lord. Don't give grudgingly, give from your heart and not what you think you should or be thinking on, well, should I give this to this person? Do they deserve it? That's not up to you to decide, right? You give as God has basically instructed you or guided you to give. And I think about the story in the Bible where the widow's offering, right? Excuse me, voice is acting up today. In Mark chapter 12, verse 41, 44, there's a story on this widow. The Bible says she was a poor widow. She didn't have much. She came to a certain point in place where others were giving, and she dropped 2 small copper coins which was worth only a few cents. And she dropped this after others had dropped, their wads of money, and they're showing off and showboating how much they've given. Jesus saw how much she gave. And he said, truly, this woman, this poor widow lady, has put more into the treasury than all the others. Now, Jesus looks at the heart. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. Now, I try to be mindful when I'm giving, and knowing that in everything that I do and everything that I say, God sees. I'm going to be accountable for that. I'm going to be accountable for everything that I say and do. So I try to be mindful of that. And I'll give you another nugget. To me, when I was sitting here thinking about giving, as I felt led to speak on this today, the ultimate giving and sacrifice is what Jesus did. He didn't have to do it. Think about this. Where Jesus was sitting, he was up there in heaven, right hand of God, comfortable. A conversation happened between God and Jesus, and it's like, okay, we need you to go down and be stripped of your deity and take on humanity, which is going to be the sins of the world. For you know that he was rich, yet for our sake, he became poor, so that through his poverty, we might become rich. Now, not just wealth, but rich with life, rich with being able to be alive and go beyond this life to another life after he comes back to get us. So, and I thought about that, and I was like, man, that's something that's hard to do. Now, for those who are very wealthy and very rich, think about giving up all that you have for some complete strangers who you don't know yet, some that have not even been born yet, but you're going to give up all that you have to go and help and bless those people. Now, that's the human side. Of course, Jesus knows and knew us before the beginning of the world. I say that to say, even though he knew us, even though he did what he did, what blows my mind is he gave his life knowing that everyone on this earth still will not receive him. And he did it anyway. That's the ultimate giving and sacrifice. That hit me very deeply and strongly, that what am I complaining about in my times that I do complain? Because I'm human. There's certain things that I want when I want it, and it doesn't happen all the time. I have to be patient. I have to trust and believe that he will make the way and make the difference in my life in his timing. So I have to wait and go through the process. Now, I'll give you another story. True story, a gentleman that I used to work with. We used to travel from across the country and doing certain things in IT, setting up different offices, different projects, and doing certain presentations. I love doing presentations. So I was one of the spokespersons to be able to go do a presentation, share what we're going to do for this particular company. Now, for the sake of this story and the privacy of my friend, I'll call him Henry, and his wife is Helen. How about that? So Henry and I go to New York. We do our presentation, And he's sharing this story with me. He's like, Johnny, man, I was talking with my wife, Helen, before we left, and she seemed a little bit sad. She was sad because I had been going and going, we've been going so many trips, we've been going out of town, and I'm paying the bills and I'm taking care of her, and she loves that, but she wanted to spend some quality time with me this weekend. And of course, we're going to be here for the company and doing this presentation. And I said, okay, so what do you think you need to do? And I said, and he said, well, first he said, well, I think I'll buy her something and get her a nice gift. And I said, well, a good gift is always nice. What I'm hearing from you though, is she requires time, okay? And a little bit of time, a little bit of love and care of one-on-one with her is what I believe that she's requiring. And he said, yeah, I believe that as well. But I'm out here trying to hustle and make things happen. I think I'm gonna buy her something. I said, okay. So we take a lunch break. So we're walking downtown New York, past Saks Fifth Avenue, Chanel, and a couple of other designer stores. So he goes into Saks Fifth Avenue and sees this beautiful dress. And he's like, man, she would love this dress. The dress was beautiful. I have to admit, the dress was beautiful. It cost over $2,000. He gets the dress, so we still walking, and he passes a Hallmark place. And he said, oh, I better get her a card too, just to be on the safe side and give her something nice. So he said, well, since we're gonna be here over the weekend, I'm gonna get the card, got the dress, and I'm gonna ship it to her, FedEx, overnight. So he gets the card. We get back to the office of the company. He signs the card. Hey, Helen, just thinking about you. Just want to let you know that, hey, I've been missing you. I know you've been wanting some quality time with me. We're going to do that soon. Love you, Henry. Packages it up, sends the package, FedEx Express. Things went so well that evening, the company was very pleased. They was willing to move forward, sign the contract, boom. Our work here was done. So we was like, okay, well, let's get on the next flight back to Dallas, Texas. We get on the flight, we're happy. He said, well, he's not gonna tell Helen that he's on the way, he's gonna surprise her. So this is the next day, so this is Saturday. We're on our way back. I said hello, goodbye, greetings to Henry, and say, hey, let me know how things go with you and Helen, and we'll catch up next week. We'll let everyone know all that transpired at the office with the company, and just a little mini celebration, which we was going to do, right? Which we did. So Henry goes home, walks in the door, he puts the stuff, his bags, the package was already there. He noticed the FedEx bag. So he puts his stuff down. He's like, oh man, hey, Helen, I'm home. Helen comes in and she says, hi. And she's got tears in her eyes. And he's like, oh, honey, babe, what's wrong? What's going on? And she just walks to the bedroom and he follows behind her, pretty briefly. And he gets in there and he sees the dresses laid out. She has it laid out on the bed. And Henry's thinking, oh, she likes the dress. She loved the dress. Helen was holding the card and was reading the words that he shared. And she was crying because of the words, and the remembrance of her touched her heart. And she expressed this to Henry. And Henry was very happy and very pleased. And he was like, wow, he didn't realize her love language had been empty. Her love tank had been empty, excuse me. And this card was at part of her love language of reaffirming her that she is loved, she is remembered, even though she's happy where she is, she's happy with her lifestyle. The giving of himself, of the card, of his time, and of the gift meant more to her than he would imagine. Now, we get back to work the next week. Henry tells me how things went well, and he has a joke. He's like, man, I could have saved all that money on that dress and just wrote her a card. And he said it jokingly, of course, but that made him think also. And we had a nice opportunity to have a cup of coffee that morning just to think about his life, his giving, his motives for giving, and why he give what he does give, and why she received it the way that she received it. So, a little note and nugget of lessons learned from true life, truth in life. Give as God has given unto you, that men shall pour into your bosom, shaken together, running over. May God bless you. Continuously be happy in your life. Continuously try to strive for the best that you can give and do. And stay tuned for Truth in Life next life lesson nuggets. Be blessed.